Hi, this is Nick from Paranormal Research Investigators UK. We're going to talk about smell and taste as part of the sequence of podcasts that we're doing on senses and the relationship it has with the paranormal. As I say, we feel that we've got one or two sort of personal experiences where we've come across this. So I'll hand you over to Andy. As I say, he's our anchor man when it comes to the things, all things paranormal. So here's Andy. And Andy, smell and taste, what do you know?
Right, well, one thing I know about taste is I've not come across any information or stories or books whereby someone's had a paranormal incident with taste.
No,
so I don't
agree.
If there's anybody out there listening to this and they have, please do respond and let us know what it is, what happened. You know,
I must admit, I've been to one or two restaurants where I've felt that taste may have been influenced by the paranormal, but that's another story.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But I think what happens with paranormal activity and smell is interesting, because there are certain themes and patterns, and there seems to be certain types of smell reported more than others. And I'll just go through the list now that I've put together that I'm aware of. So, the smell of rotten flesh is one that people have reported. Burning flesh. The smell of burnt sulphur. What's interesting is sulphur smell is also reported in some UFO cases, and ball lightning has sulphur smell as well reported. People report the smell of perfume. In paranormal activity, come from nowhere. Cigar smoke, cigarette smoke. People have reported the smell of flowers.
Yes, common, isn't it?
Yeah, coconut for some reason. Don't know what that's.
Coconut.
Yeah,
Pina colada.
Fire smoke. When there's no fire.
Yeah,
they've reported that. And people have also reported smells that have been connected to the land previously. So, if the house has been built on a specific land, there might have been something around that area before the house was built that the smells, for some reason, have come out, and people have noticed it.
Yeah.
Rotten eggs.
Sulphur.
Yeah, so this hydrogen sulfide, H2S gas.
Yeah.
It can naturally occur when organic material is broken down by bacteria.
Sure.
And it can actually be highly flammable and explosive when trapped in small areas. So I don't know if you ever had one of my farts.
I think we'll quickly move on.
Yeah.
Yes, I have, unfortunately.
Rotten decay and death, people report that. You know, the smell of that, of rotten body. Ammonia, people report the foul smell of ammonia in paranormal activity. Musty smells. Some of the nicer ones have reported as apple pie.
Okay, right, go for that.
Vanilla. Leather as well, people have reported.
Well, yes, as I'll be able to tell you later on. But
and just one, before you give some of your personal experiences, just one thing to mention is that smells can appear and disappear like a light switches on and off. So rather than a smell disappear slowly, people can report it like being here 1 second and gone the next.
Yeah, well, that's as I say, ties in with my sort of story. But it's an interesting thing that, just coming back to this thing about the sulphur, because obviously I think ionisation is one of the factors that can create that sort of smell, and obviously sulphur has links to the devil. So, I mean, it's folklore seems to sort of tip into our common perceptions. So that's quite an interesting observation. But I think the stories that are come to light, and these are quite common, particularly stories of bereavement. Certainly, my wife, she lost her sister in a car accident 30 years ago, and she had an experience where she smelled perfume, and obviously it was the perfume that her sister used to wear. Again, you think that there is a psychological factor perhaps at play there, that it's some sort of comfort that you feel that person is still around one way or another. But it's quite an interesting factor because a lot of people experience that. More recently, some friends, they lost one of their own friends who was a renowned pipe smoker. I think he'd actually won awards for it. I don't know how you get pipe smoking awards, but he was a prolific pipe smoker and known for it, and was sort of a pipe smoker of the year person. And at his funeral, they felt that they could smell pipe smoke. They were talking to one of this gentleman's friends, or I don't know, his relation actually, and he said he'd had a similar experience. Again, it's sort of linked to death, that idea that person, something that they're known for, is still about. I think the most curious thing that's happened to me in terms of smell was walking our dogs in Norbury Park, which is a park in the Surrey Hills, not to be confused with Norbury, sort of in London, heading to sort of the other side of Croydon. But that's my wife and me, decided to take in a view. There was a park bench, or a bench, on the edge of this forest, which is part of Norbury Park, overlooking a meadow down into the Mole Valley. And we were sitting there, and I suddenly could smell a very intense smell of leather. And more or less at the same time that I could smell this, my wife Louise suddenly sort of piped up, I could smell leather. And it was really strong. It was quite intense. I suppose to embellish the story slightly, our dogs, one's a collie and one's a Jack Russell. The Jack Russell started to get quite agitated and was barking at the bench. Now, it's easy to sort of misinterpret a dog, barking at you, but obviously you do feel that there was perhaps a link. But what was interesting was that the smell came on very strongly and suddenly. I know Andy mentioned about that smells can do this, but when you're in the open, you don't expect that to happen. There was nothing nearby that have created that. I mean, you're in a total rural environment. You're not near any sort of tanning processes. You naturally think that there's something, a tree or some sort of plant that could have given off the smell. We actually got in touch with the Royal Horticultural Society. Thank you very much for that. I brought my teeth back in, and they weren't able to sort of throw any light on it. We suggested that they might be able to throw some light on perhaps a fungus or a tree bark or something like that, but they weren't. And in fact, I got in touch with the managers of the estate, which that's what it used to be, and they weren't aware of any other experiences. You tend to dig and try and find out a little bit more about the location. There is a link with Druids. In fact, that particular area of the wood was known as Druids Grove, and there was evidence, or has been evidence, that Druids had some sort of presence. But it just embellishes the story. But it was unusual, and as quickly as the smell came, it went. We have been back to the same spot and haven't experienced it, but it just seemed intriguing. But it was this really intense smell, as if somebody was standing so close to you. It was almost in your face. And in fact, Louise sort of compared it to being like in a handbag shop, where there would be quite a strong smell of leather, or leather goods. It just didn't sort of fit really with the countryside. Very unusual. So, that's some of the experiences I've had. Again, a bit subjective, like everything else, because it's a personal experience. There could be no proof. Certainly, where there's bereavement involved, as I say, there are, I think, strong psychological reasons why people may pick up a smell and associate it, regardless of whether it is they smell of that particular perfume. Could it have been another perfume a bit similar? It's difficult to say. but of course you're always likely to make that association. So it's intriguing.
I think for me is if there's one person smelling it, then you could say maybe it is a bereavement issue and it's a comfort, a way of the brain giving you comfort. If two people are smelling it, and maybe they're both not going through bereavement, maybe it's, they are smelling something from a previous owner who used to live there of a particular pipe smoke, and they don't know this other person, but they would the next door neighbour might recognise the smell. Then it kind of thinks, well, where's that smoke coming from? That smell coming from? Then, or you can't rule out the power of suggestion. If one person smells it, say, do you smell leather, or do you smell this? Then the other person might be that way inclined to say, okay, I do smell that now. With all these things, you have to take the value of the word of the person who experienced it.
Yeah, I think with the experience with that particular smell of leather at Norbury Park, it was just the fact that we both smelt it, and I think it wasn't a case of me suggesting to Louise. She said before I could even say anything myself. It must have sort of hit us both at the same time, and it obviously identified it as the same smell. So that made it quite interesting.
Yeah.
But certainly no answers to that one. If anybody's aware of any plant, tree, fungus that could sort of give off that kind of smell, I'd love to know, because obviously that would answer that particular question.
I think for me, what's interesting is how when people report a negative paranormal experience, the smells associated with tend to be disgusting smells, revolting smells. Or it might start off as a nice smell, like a perfume or a apple pie, and then turn into something that's rotten flesh and putrid.
Yes.
And it's a bit like the clanging noises that are designed to irritate you, and then the disgusting smells that are designed to irritate you and revolt you. Is there some kind of intelligence behind that?
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I do get annoyed when people put their cultural norms onto it. So the sulphur. Oh, it's got to be the devil. Got to be the devil. I've got the devil in the house. It has to be. It's sulphur. That is, or the 666. That. In Latin, and I do try to want to get away from that narrow tunnel of belief that it's somehow linked to what the Bible says, and I just don't want to go down that route, because whatever's happening is probably much bigger and broader than what we can probably comprehend.
But I guess the bottom line is that people who have a faith will interpret their experiences through that faith.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we're about. I mean, we aren't people of faith, so I think we can sort of try and be rational in that sense. But anyway, it's an interesting one, and I think that smell does play its part in the paranormal. As Andy said, probably vision and sound are the two main areas that people concentrate, but certainly smell is quite up there as well.
Yeah, and I think the next podcast will be complete and will be a summary of the senses and how we misperceive and what other alternate explanations there might be, which could include epilepsy, could include other stuff as well. So do listen for the next podcast.
Yep, sure.
And thank you for it's a good job you can't smell us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks again.